You know, when I first found out about the red pill, I couldn't understand why it was the subject of such hate and mockery. I mean, when I read it, all of it made sense to me. When I found the red pill subreddit on the internet and spoke to people, I found pretty intense reactions to it. Soon, I found out how hated the world red pill really was. It was like a trigger word for feminists, and the movement was called anything from fascist to incel talk. What's even more ironic, even laughable, is the fact that when I bring up red pill points up in front of guys, they pretty much agree with anything. It doesn't matter what guys they are. Whether they're guys who don't get girls or guys who are treated like garbage by girls, or guys who hook up with every girl they see. Everyone agrees that the red pill philosophy is pretty spot on. So why all the hate? I mean, sure, the movement has trolls. Trolls and some extremists and idiots that spew some random garbage and make the movement have a bad name. Every single ideology has someone like that. So why isn't the red pill movement looked at in a more unbiased light, instead of just looking at the troll posts and the negative canvas that modern media paints? I'll tell you why. I think it's because it presents a harsher reality than most people are willing to accept. A harsher truth to life than most people are accustomed to or even willing to consider. It is essentially a framework for compiling all information on its own merits, rather than automatically accepting precepts and practices from institutions. It's a way of going against the mob instead of just accepting what everyone else has told you. It forces you to be critical of your every move, as well as those of every single person you interact with. In short, it forces accountability. People aren't comfortable with that. At this point, the current generations that are the majority of our population are so accustomed to sucking on the teat of big government and operating under the shadow that they've become numb to the reality of life. They've become so soft that they're willing to live in denial. They're willing to live a life that completely goes against their biological tendencies. They'd rather accept everything about the modern world, a world that's as fake as plastic trees, a world that's made on lies and fake ideals that corporations use to sell garbage. But they'd accept all of it instead of questioning it and realizing what's actually going on. Women obviously reject it because the red pill has revealed their true natures. It has exposed the flaws in their thinking. It's a harsh critique of their behaviors towards men of varying status and looks. Even more, it has exposed the world that women really live in. Most men really have no idea of what women are like and what their lives are really like in the modern world. They live their lives with elevated legal status, favored employment policies, and twisted divorce laws where they have guaranteed wins. Most women are out there living their lives on alimony and child support payments taken straight from hard-working men. It's ironic that in the age of female empowerment, the majority of women are still living on stolen male resources. Women actually have the greatest to lose by accepting the red pill. They have the worst risk. They will do their best to ignore it and turn the men who talk about it as misogynistic, creepy, and abusive, etc. women, and the modern media are never accepting it. The red pill also intimidates so much because it encourages men to be independent individuals. It is teaching men that the people at the top are not favorable to men. The lives of the judiciary, the big corporations, and the mass media system are dependent on you living an ignorant life. Their livelihood depends on you just remaining quiet and eating all the BS that is fed to you by the mass media. That's the thing people fear the most, to be jostled out of their reality. For most people, it is an uncomfortable shock. It is frightening and shakes up your entire mind. Most people would rather want to live in the matrix and be comforted instead of embracing this harsh reality about the world. That's why the movement starters use the matrix ideology for the movement, because nothing can be more accurate. It is very much like taking the red pill. But most people rather take the blue pill because they don't want to leave the comfort and ignorance of the red pill. There's another big reason for the hate against TRP. It's because we are discussing things that aren't meant to be discussed. We are out there helping guys out with things that no one really tells us. People hate the red pill because growing we have been taught that some things are out of the bounds of discussion. Things like your social status, sex, female desires, and dating strategy. The differences in genders and how they're biologically different. If you don't believe me, just look at it this way. Discussing this topic in normal life would be considered insulting. Imagine a guy coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I can't get laid. I need help. I had a bad upbringing. My dad walked out. I have trouble getting my life around. I have a lot of pain. How do I talk to women? Help me, I'm horny." What do you think is going to happen? Do you think someone from your friend circle is going to dish out advice? Tell the guy about how women choose their partners and how frame and status is important. That he needs to hit the gym and work on his attractiveness. He'll pat his shoulder and say to him, "Since you don't have a clear idea of doing all that embracing your masculine side because your dad walked out, I'll explain it for you." That is never going to happen. In fact, any dude who comes up to you and asks that will be straight up shunned. It will communicate low value and it will seem disgusting to people. That is human nature. These are topics we don't want to hear about. These topics are gross and nasty, and we'd rather let them remain subtle and behind the scenes than break them down for others. But you need to realize that a lot of guys need this. Especially young guys who are walking around in pain wondering what to do with their lives. Young guys with potential who are lost, wondering why they are so hated. How everyone else seems to do it so easily. Male pain is different. We don't have a lot of dramatic moments and mental health issues from overthinking. Most of male pain is simple. It stems from not getting laid, not talking to women, being low status, being out of shape, feeling unattractive and undesirable. And the worst thing is modern society creates a lot of male pain. The schools, the colleges, the companies, they're all out there crushing down on men the harshest way possible. Unfortunately, we do not yet have the means to reverse the trajectory of society. Feminism has won, and until some big movements come up for the time being, we have to do what works. Education systems are going to become more and more feminine. Divorce courts will screw over males and jails will run through men like fodder. The world is going to become more and more of a mess as time goes on. That's where the red pill comes in. We're trying to tell men how to get to the top. Tell them that there's a path to it, where they can break out of their nihilistic tendencies and appreciate the men who already made it. Understand their process so they can make it themselves. The mob doesn't see that. They don't see beyond that. They see the losers who flock to the red pill and they hate it. They hate that they're trying to change something about themselves. They hate men trying to regain their masculinity and make something of themselves. Instead, they'd rather shame the movement because it attracts losers and call it a delusional movement. At some point, you have to stop and ask why all these young lost guys are finding out about the red pill and following its principles. Maybe there's a hole in society where these guys felt inadequate and lost, and they want any ray of light to guide them out. Because ultimately, that's all TRP hate is. Successful people who hate on TRP are generally just dudes who lucked into a great environment to grow and thrive in. So they naturally think other dudes who didn't become a success must be serious losers. Unsuccessful people who hate on the red pill are dudes who hate on guys who've actually tried to fix their problems instead of escaping from them. People who share problems often display massive hatred towards guys who decide, "We're all a bunch of losers, I want out, and I will literally do anything to not be like how you are." That's just how it is. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, then don't to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.